Look, Labour have shown their true colours, haven't they?
I mean, Patrick, it looks like there are more members of the Labour Party's front bench on the picket lines than there are actual people who work for the railways. It's incredible. But I think you're right in what you said there on Sir Keir Starmer not taking a position, refusing to take a position once again, right? He must have so many splinters up his bum from sitting on the political fence that it's a wonder, Patrick, he can sit down on those green benches during Prime Minister's questions. I think ultimately you've got to ask yourself this. You've got to see what we saw since 2016, since that Brexit vote, right, where primarily working class men and women voted for the policy to withdraw from the European Union. And guess who stood valiantly against that policy, despite the fact they're supposed to represent workers? It was the trade unions and their bosses, right?
It was.
They were so totally out of touch to oppose that vote. I think they're out of touch in saying that they're representing the workers right now. They're about as in touch, Patrick, and you've mentioned their salaries. They're about as in touch as the cast of Made in Chelsea, right?
They are.
That's
they
where
are.
we're at right
and Darren,
now.
you've hit the nail on the head on a few different points here, and I want to raise them kind of in turn, really. When the pandemic first kicked off, now, I was very grateful. I got, because I was self-employed, right? I was freelance. I was obviously not in the job that I'm in now. But I lost 3 jobs in a day, OK? And I've not got... Don't get your tiny violins out, right? I'm all right. But, you know, I didn't get the kind of support that this rail lot got at all, OK? So they got that. I'm convinced that at the last election, the vast majority of the people who claim to be members of the RMT that Mick Lynch, absolutely, claims to represent, I think they probably voted Tory. I think a lot of them voted Brexit. I don't think he represents the workers, Darren.
No, definitely not. I mean, you've got the sort of Labour Party go-to hard left dullard, Richard Berger MP, or whatever he's called, right, waxing lyrical on the BBC about how they're standing up for workers. This isn't about standing up for workers, Patrick. This is about the hard left in this country who can't win elections, right? So they've tried to circumvent the ballot box. They did it, like I say, during Brexit. They're doing it against Boris Johnson's Conservative Party now. This is about power and control. It's not about workers. It's an attempt to overthrow a democratically elected Conservative Party, right? I mean, Maggie Thatcher in the 80s, and well, it would have been, in the 80s, but after she, of course, experienced the winter of discontent in the 70s, the late 70s, she said that during the miners' strike, it was a terrifying preview of Neil Kinnock's Britain. Well, I think that this is a preview of what life would be like under Sir Keir Starmer. Weak as anything, Patrick. He can't even stand up to members of his shadow front bench, man. How's he meant to stand up for Britain's workers?
Darren, you've hit the nail on the head there yet again. Weaker than a cup of very milky tea would be the way that I would describe it personally, frankly. And Darren, I think yet again you've said there that actually under a Labour government, we cannot ignore the fact that a lot of these unions are their paymasters. And so what does Boris Johnson have to do now, Darren? If these strikes start happening every week, does he just have to stand up to them? Does he just have to face them down?
Oh, absolutely. If he caves in now, Patrick, they'll come back for more. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. That's absolutely the case. They've got to actually look at reforming the law, reforming the legislation to ensure that agency workers can be brought in, because you cannot be in a position where hard left unions, Patrick, can grind the country to a standstill. How many working class people do you reckon are getting on those packed trains every single morning, right, stood cheek by jowl on these trains whilst someone is sat at the front of them being paid absolute fortunes to push a button, Patrick? That's what they're doing,
is it.
Right?
This is it.